Is Duolingo helpful to learn a foreign language, or is it a waste of time? I will give you my answer in this podcast. My name is Franklin, and this is First1,000hours.com. Don't give up on your language learning marathon. You can make it. You can make it through your first 1,000 hours. Probably as early as 2005, I wanted to learn Spanish. I've had memories over the years of telling people that I wanted to learn Spanish. Sometimes, months later, they would ask me about my progress, and the sad but true reality was that I really hadn't advanced at all. That reality was embarrassing. My problem was that I started to learn Spanish, but I didn't take it seriously. I had a dream of learning Spanish, but I had no idea about the continual effort, language learning strategies, and community I needed to make my Spanish-speaking dream a reality. In 2016, I followed the US presidential election very closely for months leading up to it. I worked a 40-hour job, and my weekends and evenings were free. I chose to spend a lot of my free time reading news articles or watching videos about the election. Then the election was over in November 8th of 2016. Around that time, I thought to myself that I might have been able to learn a language with all the time I had spent in learning random facts about the US election. Now, don't get me wrong, because I am a US citizen, it's important for me to know about the presidential election. I know that. However, I believe too much of my time was spent in that direction that took away time I could have used to acquire or continue to develop at least one more useful skill. My view of my apartment has slowly changed. It isn't a place where I eat, surf the web, and go to sleep, and etc. It began to be also my training ground for continually learning. I'm so thankful that we have the internet to be able to learn new things to a high level when we dedicate the time and focus to continually learning. I was reminded that God has given me the talent of time, a talent that I don't want to waste. I want to share some amazing thoughts about the talent of time in a future podcast. After the election was over, I decided to try to learn Spanish again with a free language learning program called Duolingo. Over the years, I had started and stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped using Duolingo. But I thought to myself that if I was really serious about learning Spanish, I was going to complete my Duolingo Spanish course. I decided not to spend any money on anything related to Spanish until I finished Duolingo. In the past, I had also tried to do the Fluentia Spanish course, which I've never completed. Fluentia costs money, and I thought that if I can't complete a free course, then why am I spending money on a paid course? Also, if I can't sustain effort over more than a few weeks in language learning, then why am I telling people I want to learn Spanish? Either I was going to make a serious effort in my language learning journey, or I needed to categorize in my mind that learning Spanish would be a lifelong, unfulfilled dream. I believe Duolingo will always have a special place in my heart because in 2017, I completed my Duolingo Spanish course. That act gave me the momentum that I needed to continue in my Spanish language learning journey. I could no longer tell myself I wasn't serious about studying Spanish because I had put in enough time and dedication to complete that course. A little after I completed my tree, I got to level 18. The level one is at in Duolingo is determined by the amount of points one gets from using Duolingo. I had desired to get all the way to level 25, the highest level one can reach on a Duolingo language tree. But as I continued to seek out the most effective manner to learn a language, I stopped learning Spanish with Duolingo and I started to learn Spanish through reading and listening to materials created for native Spanish speakers. I also had a language learning partner from another country that I was able to do a language exchange with for around 9 months. I personally think starting to use Duolingo to learn another language is beneficial for several different reasons. Luis, the founder of Duolingo, said that Duolingo commissioned a study to find out how well people learn a language on Duolingo. He detailed 2 pretty interesting points from the study, with these words. On average, it takes 34 hours of Duolingo to earn the equivalent of 1 semester of college. Since a semester of college generally takes a lot more than 34 hours of work, this suggests that Duolingo is more effective than a college course. The study was done by an external research team that previously evaluated the effectiveness of other methods such as Rosetta Stone. It is of note that it took 55 hours of study with Rosetta Stone to reach the equivalent of 1 semester of college. So not only is Duolingo freer than Rosetta Stone, the study suggests it's also better. Another benefit of Duolingo is that English speakers can learn Spanish, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Russian, Chinese, Portuguese, Turkish, Dutch, Swedish, Irish, Greek, Hebrew, Polish, Norwegian, Vietnamese, Danish, Romanian, Swahili, Esperanto, Hungarian, Welsh, Ukrainian, Czech, and etc. At the time of this recording, the Hindi course and the Indonesian course are in beta. Non-English speakers can learn languages with Duolingo as well. What's nice about Duolingo as well is that the initial lessons start out easy. And because of that, it gives hope that one can gradually understand more of the language. I also like how Duolingo uses pictures to help build up one's initial vocabulary. Duolingo can be accessed online, and they also have an app that makes Duolingo pretty mobile friendly. The Duolingo course is broken into bite-sized portions. The initial lessons can be completed in around 5 to 10 minutes or less, which is very helpful for people that don't have the time to dedicate a 1-hour block of time with the language. Especially because Duolingo's lessons are short, they can be completed during different parts of the day as one has opportunity. According to TechCrunch, Duolingo has 300 million users and 25 million active users. The Duolingo community has been very helpful to me. Sometimes I've not understood why an answer was given. I've been able to read comments from various other users that many times have had the same question I've had, and I've been able also to find solid explanation of the answer in the comment section as well. Also, if you go to Duolingo on your laptop or a desktop, you can go to the discussion area where people post their thoughts about Duolingo and language learning in general. In my pursuit to learn how to learn another language, I've gotten good insights from the Duolingo discussion board. On the other hand, here are some things to keep in mind about Duolingo. Using Duolingo on your computer gives you access to more features than you won't find on the Duolingo app. Also, if you're not careful, having a long streak or getting to level 25 can be more important than learning a language. Sometimes one of the biggest reasons why people stay on Duolingo is because they want to maintain their streak. To me, we need to keep in mind that learning your target language is more important than whether or not you have a Duolingo streak. You need to know that the Duolingo course is a beginner course, and I'm specifically talking about the Duolingo tree. It helps one learn aspects of a language, but if people use Duolingo alone to learn a language, they won't make much overall progress. For example, when I did the Spanish course, I was prompted in English to do things in Spanish. However, my language learning journey has taken me from Duolingo to reading and listening to native Spanish materials, which is much more difficult than doing Duolingo. Sure, people can do a reverse tree after they finish their course, which for me would mean taking a Duolingo English course as a Spanish speaker. But this still doesn't rise to the same level of challenge as reading and listening to native Spanish materials. When people do a Duolingo course, they can pause and take as much time as they want to get the answer. However, when I watch YouTube videos in Spanish with Spanish subtitles, I have to process Spanish many times much faster than I would on Duolingo. There's a vast difference between doing the Duolingo Spanish course and watching a TED Talk of the Duolingo founder speaking in Spanish about his vision for Duolingo. Also, if someone has reached a high level in their target language, I'm pretty confident that based on various discussions I've read on Duolingo and etc., that they've used more than Duolingo alone to get to that level. Or they might have not even used Duolingo at all. I personally believe that you need to set goals for yourself while using Duolingo and determine how long it will take you to complete the Duolingo tree and then seek to complete it in that time. Even if you don't understand everything, after a certain time, I would move on to learning the language primarily from reading and listening to native materials in your target language, and obviously speaking and writing as you have opportunity. I really think for a beginner in language learning, understanding everything about your target language isn't a realistic goal and can impede progress. I remember that after 2 months or so of my serious attempt to complete my Duolingo Spanish course, someone else also started to do the same course, and he finished it before me in only a month or so. He had a strategic plan of completing the course in a systematic way. He stuck to his plan and he finished it. I, on the other hand, took much longer because I didn't have the same goals, and I sometimes didn't put the effort and focus I needed into completing the course. I learned that wanting to finish the Duolingo course and really putting the effort to finish it are two different things. Steve Kaufman, a famous YouTube polyglot, wrote that the biggest thing that prevents people from succeeding and becoming fluent is that people stay with the beginner material for too long. They stay with the beginner book, course, or lesson and never get beyond it. This is quite unnecessary, and I agree with him on that point. I read an interesting quote from bufferapp.com's blog. I don't agree that goals are the basis of happiness, but the last part of the quote really resonated with me. It read, "The reason that most of us are unhappy most of the time is that we set goals not for the person we're going to be when we reach them, but we set goals for the person we are when we set them." You might have just chosen to start your Duolingo course, and if you did, I think that's great. I want to end this podcast talking to your future self 5 months down the road. Please get out of your Duolingo comfort zone. You've had 5 months to do your Duolingo course, and now you need to get into listening and reading materials in your target language. Why? In order for you to continue to be fit in your 1,000-hour language learning marathon, I need to still see the sweat come down from your face. If you stay in your Duolingo comfort zone, you won't be ready for the more advanced language learning challenges like listening to someone speak for an hour without saying a word or reading a book in your target language. Now, please let me see you sweat. I believe you can accomplish far more in language learning than you realize, and it's my job to push you and inspire you. My name is Franklin, and this is first1000hours.com. Don't give up on your language learning marathon. You can make it. You can make it through your first 1,000 hours.